Hey guys, welcome back to Generator. Thanks so much for bearing with any of the technical issues this morning. And now, tonight, I've got a good friend of mine. His name is Billy Thorpe. And Billy is an interesting character. Now, I know that we've spent a lot of time here talking about photography and videography and eCam and doing all these sorts of things. But I really love bringing on different creators in all sorts of entrepreneurship and creatorpreneurship, if you will. And Billy is a guy that I met at Creator Camp that was put on by eCam back in October of last year. And literally the first guy that I spoke to, we were on our way to the venue and he sat down in front of me in the bus and we just strike up that conversation, you know, that real awkward small talk that everybody has at the beginning when you first meet somebody and you're like, hey, am I going to be able to like chill with you or not? And Billy just had this energy, super welcoming, really approachable. And we started talking and, you know, of course, asking each other what you do. I'm a photographer. I'm like, what do you do? And he's like, well, I make videos for Amazon. And immediately I'm thinking, oh, Amazon's one of his clients. That must be really, really cool. And then he's like, no, I make product videos on Amazon. And then he started to talk to me about how he did it and the numbers that he did. And that's when I slowly but quietly took out my notepad and started taking notes, because he's got this system and a workflow that just works. It goes from side hustle to full-time hustle to very comfortable full-time hustle in a short period of time. And the great thing, the reason I love Billy, the reason everybody loves Billy is not only the energy, but just the fact that he doesn't gatekeep anything. He builds communities around doing these sorts of videos, really specializing in brand deals, not necessarily with the Adidas and the Nikes of the world, but with all of the smaller businesses, which is an untapped market for a lot of people. And they are really looking for content creators. So Billy's really on the bleeding edge of what works with Amazon affiliate programs and live shopping and just the whole niche that is what is soon to be what a lot of us are going to be doing, which is live shopping and live selling online. So without further ado, I'm going to welcome onto the show my friend, Billy Thorpe. Billy, how are you, sir?
Matt, I'm doing good, man. I'm doing good. I'm excited to be here, dude. I'm a fan of the show, a fan of yours, so it's always fun to sit down and chat with you.
I appreciate that. And so clearly the Cash App went through that I sent you to say nice things about me. I appreciate that. Show's off to a great start. It can't go downhill from here.
I hit my lines just like
you hit your lines, man. Nailed it. All right. So everything that I said in the intro, I'm sure there were things that I'm probably not using the right terms, but live selling, live shopping, I think people are getting the feel for all of this. And tonight, I really want to explore with you, not only that side, right? We can get into a lot of that, but I love the story behind how this all started. And I know that you've talked about it on a bunch of different podcasts, talked about, you know, your grandfather, you talked about the pandemic, and you've talked about fishing podcasts and all the stuff that you've done. Can you give us like a 1-minute synopsis of this whole journey? And then I'm really going to dig into different parts, because I think your approach to stuff, your philosophy, really what you're trying to do with community is so much bigger than the actual workflow and the system that you've put in place. I think what you're doing with people and teaching them and giving them opportunities to grow in different ways they didn't think possible, I'd really love to dig into that. But yeah, why don't you give everybody just kind of the top to bottom about how you really fell into this niche of content creation for brands?
Yeah, man. So, I mean, real quick backstory: ADHD diagnosed in 1993. Before it was cool, that was when you were kind of weird and like, wow, this kid is really weird. So, struggled as a student my entire life. Got to high school, and really, you know, in that high school moment, there was like my senior year, and there was a teacher who kind of came into my life. She was very creative, very just different than, you know, most teachers. She was actually a substitute in our music class. And, that year we produced like this whole album, and it was like 11 songs, and I had 2 songs on there. And I hope that album is, burnt somewhere. I don't want to listen to it, but that moment kind of changed my life. And that took me from this little small town in Bristol, Tennessee, Bluff City, Tennessee area to St. Louis, Missouri, huge city, and to like a music school, production school. And so I always give that backstory because I don't want it to be like, oh, this guy succeeded so fast in business, because I was really just an utter failure pretty much, and even I dropped out of high school, got my GED, went to this 2-year school, couldn't even hang there, and ended up leaving there early as well, kind of with my tail tucked between my legs, going, what am I ever going to be good at? And then, I kind of started dabbling with business, and I was working for a small business, and there was this, the small business. It was like, and I don't know if I really tell the story too much, but it was like this little airsoft store. So things like airsoft, paintball.
Mm-hmm.
And there was one guy came in, and he would always just look at everything and want to touch and hold all this stuff. And then I was like, man, why don't you buy anything? And he said, well, we just don't have a place to play, or I would. And I go, oh, okay. You got a problem. Let me see if I can solve it. And so, long story short, I opened up an airsoft field and started solving a problem of having a place for these guys to play. And so the store succeeded. My boss was happy. I was happy. I was making more money, from the field. And that got that entrepreneur thing kind of stirred up in me. And, I kind of floundered around with a bunch of different entrepreneurial journeys. I mean, I'm more of a failure than success. I will say that, in all those different things that I tried and just fell flat on my face. But every time I would learn something that I would put in my skill bag that I can now take to the next adventure. And so, I, before I got married 12 years ago, I started a screen printing promotions business, and I did that for a long time. And sure, yeah, the pandemic shut that down. And then my wife is like, what do you want to do? And I'm like, I just want to create content again, because I actually worked for a nonprofit, doing all their content, TV shows. I mean, I'm telling you, I got a list of jobs that I used to do. And so anyway, I was like, I don't know. And so, yeah, then I started the saltwater fishing show, got on Clubhouse, started talking about sponsorship deals. My friend Monty Weaver told me about Amazon, and I kind of had the same reaction you did. Like, this is crazy. Like, what are you talking about? You can make videos, you can go live, and you can get paid to do that, and brands will pay you. Like, this is so silly. And then I just started taking action. I gave myself 90 days to like, can I turn this thing into a business? And so I started leveraging the Amazon influencer program to, work with brands, and just tweaked my setup a little bit every single month until I just got really good quality videos super fast, and was able to, generate 4,500 videos in the last 44 months. So I'm averaging over, well, I did the math the other day. I think it averaged like 102 videos a month for the last 40 something months, which is silly, but.
And that's a staggering amount, right? Considering I tried to promote this podcast today, and I couldn't even get done with a video. I couldn't do it. I was on my phone, and then I get distracted, and then I have to take the dog out. And then, so the fact that you're able to produce 3 to 4 videos a day, let's call it, right? If you're working every single day of the month,
yeah,
it's really a staggering pace. So before we get to the system and the workflow, there's a couple of things you said in there that I want to kind of go back to. And you had the influence of that teacher early on. And like I said, you've talked about your grandfather as well, kind of guiding you through some stuff. In the earlier day, when you were a kid, when you were first starting out this stuff, right? The weird little kid with ADHD, did you always have this drive towards something creative, right? You seem to be a problem solver with the airsoft and the screen printing, and like, you're always looking for gaps to fill. Have you always been that way? Has that always been a thing? Like, even as a kid, you were looking to fix problems or help people? Was that something that you've always done?
Yeah, I think so. I often, and I grew up, and I said no family trauma stuff, but I grew up in a pretty abusive home early on. Like, my mom married an alcoholic guy that beat her up and stuff in front of us when we were, 5 years and younger. And then, from that moment, I think I always was like in that survival mode, like man, I need to do something about this. Is a huge problem. How do I solve it? And so, one, it was like I always had like empathy or sympathy in that situation. And then I don't know, just my whole life, I kind of had that, like I just want to be, one, I want to be important. I want to feel worthy. I want to feel, like I can provide some kind of assistance or help. And yeah, man, I think I always have had that entrepreneurial, like, I mean, the money thing came later when it was necessity, but when I was a kid, it was like, oh, I'll help you do anything, if you want to dig a ditch. So, I mean, I remember my cousin telling me, hey, I want to start a bicycle repair business. And I said, I think I know how to do that. Let's spray paint some wood and nail it to the garage door. And so we got in trouble for doing that, but we did. It's like we started a business right there in his front yard. Or my other cousin's like, I need money to buy this game. And I'm like, well, let's sell your other stuff. It's like I always had a solution, or tried to anyway. And like I said, most of those have not worked, but there's been a few that did okay.
Yeah, but you've said before in conversations that we've had and that I've heard you talk about is that a lot of your success comes from trial and error, just trying things, seeing what works, going with it if you see a little bit of success. So has that been kind of the foundation of everything you've done? And if so, do you have like pull the ejection seat, like, this is done, I can't do this anymore? Or are you like me, where you just beat it into the ground and you have to have someone like pull you off of that dead pile,
Yeah, dude, I'm riding it until I'm dying. I'm
Yeah.
riding it until the wheels fall off, and I'm putting the wheels back on and trying it again. I mean, for a lot of stuff. I mean, I quit early on a lot of stuff too. I mean, I was probably earlier on in my early 20s. I felt like that was a real good discovery time. Like I learned a lot of what I enjoyed. I learned a lot about what I didn't enjoy, and then I also learned that like business is a lot of both of those things. Like you're going to enjoy a lot of it, and there's it's probably equal amount that I don't enjoy. Taxes, for instance, I don't enjoy taxes. But I do think it's like, I don't know, man. It is one of those things where you're always just trying to, in my brain, and I think with the ADHD thing, I never would accept medication. Like when I was a little kid, they were always like, "Oh, you got to take medication." So I remember spitting it out on the way to the bus stop. I'd hide it in my mouth from my mom, and I just had like this intuition of like, well, if I have this, it's mine, and it's got to be something different about me. And so, I just got to figure out how to channel this energy into other things. So it took me a long, long, long time to figure that out. But I think it's one of my best attributes.
What did it feel like when you finally started looking at it like that? Like, oh, this is a superpower. It's not something to be criticized. It's actually an advantage. Do you remember, like, was there a moment where that flipped?
Man, I think it really just came from like social media stuff. I
Yeah.
think when you see with people with a lot of letters behind their name and they start saying, "Oh, this is how the brain works. This is how this works. This is why this works that way." I think that just builds the confidence to go, "Okay, I'm not," because there was times that as an adult, I'm like, "Man, I need some medication. Like, I got to chill the freak out." you know, but the ability to like hyper focus on something and test it, and then just like I mean, and that's the thing about this particular business that I have now.
Mm.
There's so many changing parts. That creative side of it, it keeps whatever that quit part of my brain is, it keeps it active, like to not want to quit, because everything's different. Every moment of my day, it's repetition in the record button, but every product is different. Every video is a little different. And so I think I'm better at that than I would be at just like filling bags of, flour or something with a spoon. Like I couldn't do that all day, every day, or drive me nuts.
You need a little bit of that challenge. You're definitely got that creative entrepreneur spirit. I think, did I hear you one time and forgive me if I'm putting words in your mouth, but contentpreneur? Did you use that word? Is that your word?
I'm sure somebody, yeah, I've probably said that. I've probably heard it somewhere and said it. I steal a lot of that stuff and forget where it comes from. But yeah, I have always just said like I'm a entrepreneur first and I'm a
Right.
content creator second. And maybe one of those days that will switch, but growing up, it wasn't like I was super resourced. So it wasn't like, hey, Dad, I get this great business idea. And he goes, cool, let me write the check. It was, hey, I get this great business idea. Great, go test it. If it works, save your money, reinvest, do it again. And so, that's kind of how I've done every business. And that's what I got to remind myself of is when I look to these super wealthy business owners, I'm like, well, I didn't take the risk that they took, or I didn't have we all have a different starting line, essentially, depending on where we're at. And so it's part of what I love about entrepreneurship and really doing it the way I've done it is it's just so scrappy. It's like, I tell people all the time, like, they're like, I can't record. I don't have great gear. I don't have this. I don't have that. I go, man, I borrowed the first camera I ever used with Ecamm from my neighbor for weeks. I just said, hey, can I use your DSLR again? I'm doing this fishing podcast. I really need it. And so that was cool, but yeah, the scrappy entrepreneurial lifestyle is definitely good for my ADHD brain.
And I'm right there with you, right? I feel like we're walking the same path. I think there's this risk tolerance that you build up as you do something and fail and do something and fail. And you realize that the risk isn't that scary anymore. And it allows you to take even more risks, right? And these are the like adrenaline junkies. And I certainly feel that way. While I'm not necessarily going to go put on a wingsuit and dive off a cliff, like I'll start any business and see where it goes. Probably not going to succeed at it, but at least I have there's nothing scary about this. People might want it, they might not. But there's a lot of folks that don't necessarily have that risk tolerance. So from a tactical standpoint, what do you think people get wrong about the idea of making a living with content creation? And you know what? Let's switch that. Not necessarily the tactical side of it, because pressing a button and turning lights on is relatively straightforward. But from the philosophical side, right? What do you think most people get wrong? Is it excuses and rationale? Is it fear? Where do you see? Because you have this conversation all the time with people. So what are you seeing from them?
And I think one, I always just tell people, like, no one cares about your content as much as you think they do. And as soon as you understand that, you're not going to be afraid to hit record, to hit publish, to go live. With all of us, like, when's the last time you just sit down at YouTube, watch someone's YouTube video and critique the snot out of it? You never have. Like, you don't have time because you're too busy critiquing the snot out of your own video, So it's like, as soon as I realized that, like, nobody cares about this as much as I think they do. It just kind of gave me the freedom to move faster. And then also, when I realized that just because you read it in a blog doesn't mean it's true for everyone. And that's how I monetize in the podcasting space so quickly was, everyone said, you gotta have 10,000 downloads per episode. And I just was like, man, I have some sales chops. I think I'm a better sales guy than just waiting for 5 years if this content even hits like that, because, it wasn't like a super big niche that you're going to get just millions of people watching. And so I'm going, there's got to be a different way than this, So I think that is the fear of, first of all, no one cares that's consuming your content. Nobody really cares as much as you think they do. And then 2, not believing everything you read. Like, actually, if you read it and you go, I don't know, that probably means you're right. Just go after whatever they're saying. Whatever the criteria is probably just not true. It's true for the person writing that blog, because they probably just wrote it from reading someone else's blog. So go figure it out on your own and write your own blog. It's kind of what I say.
It's the guru culture these days, right? Where you don't have to actually come up with the idea. I saw a guy, you don't have to come up with the ideas. Let me finish an actual sentence before I jump to the next one, right? ADHD. So
perfect.
So I saw a guy today on Instagram, and he calls himself like, the content CEO or something ridiculous like that. And he said the strategy in 2026 for your content is to steal it. So basically find someone else, take their ideas, replicate it, and then put it out. And I watched that. It was one of the first things I saw this morning, and it pissed me off immediately. Because basically it was the human version of AI slop. Don't think for
Mhm.
yourself. Don't create for yourself. Just take someone else's hard work, replicate it, and press the easy button. And to me, I think that's what so many of us are inundated with now. This guru culture of just do this, and you'll, go from zero to $100,000 in a year, and you'll get all these followers. And it's just the wrong approach. Does it work? Probably, because there's a lot of people doing it. But is it? I look at things from the standpoint of my creativity has to have some level of soul to it. I've got to be able to feel like what I'm doing has an original voice. And I see a lot of that in what you're doing as well, where you might read or see these videos or, go to conferences and get all of this information, but then you distill it down and you create your own voice. And it seems like even since October, when I first started to get to know you, that there's been this elevation of you as not a guru, but as just this phenomenal resource in this area that very few people know about. Did you set out to try to become this subject matter expert, or was that something you were just kind of like, oh shit, people are coming to me. All right, I guess I should talk to them about stuff,
Yeah, I always say I was just a guy dumb enough to keep doing this thing. Because there's a lot of people that got me into the Amazon influencer space that are no longer in the Amazon influencer space. And everybody has their own journey. And I think you try a lot of stuff and some stuff sticks and some stuff doesn't. But I never really set out to be like the smartest guy or hey, come to me. And really, I didn't do that at all. I even started the community that I have because so many people kept jumping into my inbox on social, platforms, and I do a lot of brand deals on social platforms. So it was almost out of necessity to go, hey, I got to create some space for you guys to leave my inbox alone because when I get a message there, I want cash attached to it. I don't want, but you know what? I honestly, in that whole like guru mindset, I'm really just not good at that. And even with my community and some other, some offers that I have, I've just not been good at just BSing people and saying, hey, Matt, I did it. You can do it too. I go, hey, I did it. Here's what I did. You can try it. And if it works, great. And if it doesn't, I'm sorry. I don't know what to tell you. It might not be your thing. And I'm just not a very good sales guy, of that. And I did meet a guy one time who did something similar to what you just talked about. And he told me, he's like, all you have to do is take someone else's course, buy it, take it, redo it, re-put it out there as your own. And he made like almost $1 million a year doing that. And I just can't even do that for my own stuff.
Yeah.
That I truly do believe is a good strategy. Do I think my strategy is the best and it's a one size fits all? Absolutely not. Like I've even boiled it down to like, if you don't do this thing full time, you're probably not going to succeed doing what I do because this is what I do full time. And part time, 5 to 9 is not going to cut it because you got to have way more, you got to have way more energy than just working a little side hustle gig. Now, some people will prove me wrong, even my own community. But yeah, man, I never set out to be the guru, the smart guy. I just want to help people. And if they're like, hey, I need help, like, cool, let me help you. I mean, I would help people all day, every day for free, but that doesn't really pay the bills. So,
I heard you say at one point that people need your message to unlock theirs, or I might be paraphrasing, right? But you've always been on the vanguard of putting yourself out there, showing people like, hey, here's what I'm doing. And as part of someone in your deal makers community, I've seen you do this firsthand, where you're very open, very vulnerable, very much like, hey, here's all the numbers, here's exactly what I'm doing and how I do it. And I think that ability to give people permission to do it for themselves is some type of message that I don't hear from a lot of people. We talk about empowerment and like, you can do it for yourself and rah, rah, rah. But it's also coming from a place of kind of hollow advice. And I've never felt that there's anything other than substance in what you do. So this approach to radical honesty, if you will, in entrepreneurship, there's meat there, because I think people like that authentic feel, like, oh, okay, he's not just trying to sell me something. Yeah, he might sell me something, but he's not trying to force me to buy something that I don't need. So you've been doing all of this work in Amazon and now Whatnot and all of this, right? At what point, was it during the pandemic? Was it during, you're getting out of the fishing podcast or getting out of airsoft or screen printing? Where was it that you started to wander into Amazon? Like you'd mentioned Monty Weaver earlier, right? You kind of wander into that, where the light bulb goes off and says, you know what? I'm going to do this full time for a year and see how it goes.
Yeah, it was kind of so I was doing my fishing show. It was sponsored, had a great relationship with my co-host, so there was nothing there. And we actually just built a membership group. I mean, it was like really going, to a cool place. But it was one of those projects where I'm like, I like fishing. I can't just wake up and talk about this all the time. And, I kind of felt like a poser almost, because I enjoyed the production side of it, but I didn't really, I couldn't really hang with the conversation piece of it. And it kind of showed, after a while, like, it was like, cool, man. Thanks for helping build a cool community podcast for this community, but it shows, And then when I learned about the Amazon thing, man, I got into it. And for anybody who's listening or watching who's like, what are you guys even talking about?
Right.
Amazon basically created an Amazon influencer program to where if you had a little bit of a social media following, you could apply, you could get approved, and then they would allow you to post videos, short form videos, live selling or live stream selling, and then like photos or whatever. So different pieces of content, vertical, horizontal. I mean, they change it all the time. It's a platform, it's a business of their own. And so I got into that portion of it, and I quickly kind of realized like this isn't scalable because I don't control it. I'm out of control. All I can do is upload and hope that this thing hits a carousel, hits a product page, gets seen by someone, gets clicked, gets shipped, gets purchased, gets shipped, all this stuff. So there's a lot of maybes that would happen. But then I learned that there's a bunch of overseas companies, primarily in China, that wanted people in the US to get their product, talk about their product, and upload these videos to Amazon. And that's when, I really started the first, because I lived in Puerto Rico when I first started this. And then it was tough for me to get products then. And so we moved back to the States, and I started just reaching out to these companies. And I gave myself, Matt, 90 days because I already had a podcast. It was going places. I was committed. But I'm like, this could be my own thing that I can do, that I can really scale, and I don't have to split. And I'm kind of passionate about it as well. Which, like working with Amazon and working with seller, there was a bunch of those mental, hoops I had to jump through to be okay with creating this type of content. But I eventually worked through all those. And so anyway, I give myself 90 days, and I'm like, let's just see what happens. Now, luckily for me, those 90 days were during the holiday season. It was a ramp up to the holiday season. And so, man, I start doing deals like crazy, and I'm talking $5 videos, $10 videos, 50. I'm talking whatever. I was pissing everybody off in the creator video space. They're like, you're ruining the industry. And I'm like, but Ecamm made it so easy for me to hit record, push buttons on my Stream Deck, change cameras. So I'm producing this high quality multi-camera video in 2 minutes, and someone's paying me $20. I'm like, who else is paying me $20 in 2 minutes? Like nobody. And man, I did 250 videos in a month. This is some failures. I hired a guy. I was like, we're going to be rich. This is awesome. I'm going to hire you. I'm going to pay you. Yeah, I got an office space. It was crazy. In those first 3 months, I'm like, I'm on top of the hill. And then January hit, and it was like, oh, wait, what happened? There's no more brand deals. And then February was like Chinese New Year. So I'm like, oh, nobody works in February. So there's a lot of stuff in that first year I just didn't know what I didn't know. But it was probably the March of that first calendar year that I realized okay, this is a year-long business, because brand deals started ramping back up, content started coming back in, and and it worked out. But yeah, I mean, I gave myself just 90 days right off the rip and was like, if you're not making money in 90 days, we're out, like that's all you get. So yeah, it was a good challenge for sure.
Now, a lot of people, like you said, that's a really funny story. You come in, undercut everybody, like just not on purpose. You were just doing your thing.
Oh
And,
no, I knew what I was doing.
I was trying to give you the benefit of the doubt. So
No,
you roll in like Walmart and you're just rolling back prices for all these brand deals.
I'm the Starbucks of video, baby. That's what I say.
So people don't know, for the Amazon influencer program, right? And like you said, it kind of changes about every 12 minutes. The
Yeah.
rules, the locations, what you can do, what you can't do, right? It becomes a full-time job. I know this because I started doing it under your tutelage and I realized, oh, this is lucrative if you spend a lot of time focusing and working on your system. Like you said, finding that method to produce videos quickly, right? Because doing what I do, which is taking a video and then polishing it up and making sure you have all these cinematic angles, is garbage. If you go on Amazon and you look at any of these products and you scroll through, it's basically someone with a potato camera and they're just kind of showing it in a shaky way. So being able to stand out with good quality video, good clear audio, good lighting has got to be still, right? Because I go on Amazon all the time. It's got to still be a pretty niche group of people that are doing it at a higher quality, right? Because most people are just
Yeah.
submitting reviews of whatever they buy, right?
Yeah, I mean, it's definitely, for the brand side of it, it's the quality content quickly
Mhm.
is the strategy. I mean,
Yeah.
it's just I don't care what anybody says. I've done more brand deals than all of them probably. I would put my numbers against any of them, and it's not because I'm great on camera. It's not because I have great thoughts about products. It's none of that. It's because I have Ecamm and I have
Mhm.
nice gear and I can push a button with my pedal and switch between 3, 4 different shots
Yeah.
and produce this video quickly. And this is what I kind of say, because I mean, we were kind of joking around like I undercut the market, but the market, and here's what I say about video, and you know this about
Mhm.
photography as well. It's like this video space is huge. It's from Hollywood to home video.
Yeah.
And so it's like there's a lot of little markets inside of this big market, if you will, this big industry. And so what I kind of figured out was there was only a certain price point, and it's somewhere between, I'll say, $0 and $250 that these companies are going to pay for content. And keep in mind, I retain the rights to the majority of the content.
Mhm.
I earn off of the content on Amazon a few different ways: on-site, off-site, creator connections, commissions. And so it's not like I'm, undercutting this big elaborate YouTube
Right.
market or something. But I'm also spending a fraction of the amount of time. And I have a friend of mine, he does, 18, $20,000 videos. He's like, dude, the time it takes me to go find that $18,000 video, hire the crew, rent the gear, do the set, rent the location, blah, 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 blah. By the time it all comes down, you're making more money than I am per month. And you're at home, you're working 4 hours a day. You're riding your golf cart more than you're working. And so for me, I think it was just like finding that it's kind of like the dollar store versus Louis Vuitton. It's like you
Yeah.
just find the market and then you build inside of that market. And then, and that's how I've kind of viewed this whole process. And I think some people, because early on in the Amazon program, it was big influencers. It was people coming from YouTube, and then they would buy, I mean, they would just curse people out for an offer of like, hey, we can pay you $50 to post a video on Amazon for us. They'd be like 50, more like 5,000.
Right.
And so I didn't have that experience. I didn't have that ego. I made goose eggs from posting videos. So I didn't have that reference of like high ticket deals. And so with the help of, our friends at Ecamm, I was able to do this low ticket, high frequency business model and go, oh, cool, I can make 10 videos a day at, $10. That's $100 plus the commission plus the. And then I ran into another problem where I just had all this product, and I'm
Yeah.
like, now what do I do? And then I started reselling it, made even more money, reselling it. So, it's just a whole different industry, I think, in different business. So I didn't really come into the video game to like undercut anyone, but I learned the budgets and go, can I create something for that budget? And the answer was yes.
I think you were right to call out the term undercut. And the reason I say that is there's a very similar corollary in the photography world, right? Especially how I came up doing luxury high-end portraiture. And there's this discrepancy between the people that are doing it full-time at a very high level, putting a roof over their head, selling $2,000, $3,000, $4,000 portrait packages. And then you have the person down the street who just got their camera at Costco and is saying, I'll do a photo shoot for $100 and you can have all the pictures. Meanwhile, those of us are like, I'm selling 10 for $2,000. You're going to put me out of business. And it's a very ego-driven way to think. Instead of looking at the market and saying, oh, things have shifted and now companies realize they still want quality, but there's not the small group of content creators anymore. The barrier to entry on content creation is so low, and there are so many talented people out there that the market forces push that price down. Now, is there still a place for the premium? Absolutely. Louis Vuitton wouldn't still be in business if there wasn't. But I think we need to put our egos aside and say, what does the market really look like? And how can I take advantage of that without compromising what I do? So I think it forces a lot of us that are doing content creation or visual arts as a full-time business. We're forced to think about our pricing and how we do things differently. And there's no shame in creating a $100 video if you normally make $10,000 videos. There's no shame in it, because if it takes you less than an hour, you're still making $100 an hour, which is a pretty good rate in anybody's book, right? So
yeah,
I think therein lies a very long discussion about how we shift in this marketplace and just figure out how we make it work so that we can build a career off of it. So you mentioned a minute ago that you're creating these videos. They're basically one take videos, right? Because we're using Ecamm.
Yep.
We can shift around. We can, focus on an overhead shot. And I've done some of that here, right? And we can go, I can show you how the camera looks, right? And all we're doing is hitting a stream deck button or a pedal, and we're shifting. As long as you keep the audio going just fine, you can really push these products out. So I ask you this, you're doing a video, it takes you, let's say 20 minutes, right? You correct me where I'm at here. Start to finish the process, maybe 20 minutes. What is the mental discipline that you have to keep that pace up to produce the 130 or 100 to 120 videos a month without those videos turning into junk? Is there a discipline that you have to keep creating, even at I'm going to call it mediocre, but that's not a reflection on your work, but like at that quality that's not Martin Scorsese and it's not potato cam, right? You're in that sweet spot. Like, what does it take to like just keep creating over and over and over and not have it devolve into, oh God, I just don't want to do this anymore?
I mean, there's definitely those days, right? I think there's those days.
Fair.
And you just have to take a walk. I mean, it's like the lifestyle portion of entrepreneurship. It's like there's so much suck and so much greatness all in the same. I mean, if anybody was like, came to me and said, hey, give me your job description, I will pay you the same amount of money that you make today, and you just work for me, but you give me what you want to do. I'd do that all day long, every day. I wouldn't think about another. I'd write it all out. Right, here you go.
Amen.
Here's what I want to do. They would say one thing, nothing. No, I'm just kidding. But for this business, one, I don't think it's the most creative business. This is what I say. It's a pretty boring business, which is why I think it is successful the way that it is. is because it's pretty repetitious. I mean, you come in and you make videos, and so I have, but like I said, it does change. So I have like, a gaming remote
Mhm.
video. So this is a Bluetooth gaming remote video. I just made some off of these little stretchy USB-C to USB-A cables. I mean, it's all over the place. I have one of a sup pump. I have another one of some headphones, and so that portion of it keeps you on edge because you got to be thinking about what's the use case, what's the features, what's the benefits. But then also you just have to know how to read a product page. It's like
Yeah.
they tell you what it does. You're just kind of pulling it out and telling the customer, hey, this doesn't have lightning bolts coming out of the buttons like the picture shows. And
Right.
this is the material it's made out of. And so, it's kind of like I'm just answering the questions I would have as a shopper. And so, but then also, once you do 100 of these, or 200 of these, you kind of know what it does.
Yeah.
Like, hand me a 3-in-1 charger. You can put a stack of 1,000 over here. I'll do them all today. I know what a 3-in-1 charger does. I know how it works. I can rip it out of the box and talk about it without even looking at a listing. And so I think there's kind of like, is it the most creative thing is just making all the buttons do what you want the buttons to do. Like you said earlier, like I can push this button, go to my overhead cam, push it again, go to my desk shot, push it again, go to my B-roll footage, of this little air compressor I made earlier, come back and in the video. That's the most creative portion about it. The other creative portion about it is really negotiation. Like I do a lot of negotiations, and it's more like I mean, there's a lot of suck in this business for most people, but I love negotiating. I love the back and forth. I love like, nope, that doesn't include usage rights. Absolutely, yes, you can for X amount of dollars. And then just the ability to spit out so much content so quickly that earns money, typically long, a little bit longer term than me just posting on Instagram of my breakfast. I'm not, there's like the odds of me making money on my breakfast photo on Instagram is pretty slim. But the odds of me making money off the video I created from Amazon, making money from the competitor of that product watching that video and now hiring me to do their video,
Mhm.
getting, it just works for me, I guess. And it's not for everyone. I think creative people will struggle with this business.
I don't know, man, because when I watch what you do, and I want to get into the brand deals in a second, we're going to talk through that. But when I watch what you do, you can use your time to film yourself eating cereal and doing hot takes, or you can use your time to create content that is going to put money in your pocket. And I know you use the term maybe money a lot, and that there's maybe some money in having a ton of views on you eating cereal or dancing in the background or whatever it is, right? You might get some money there, but it's a lot less than people think. Or you can go a different route and create something that not only gives you some of that upfront money from the brand itself, but maybe you'll get a little bit more through commissions or through the affiliate, or maybe you'll get something from selling it at a discount yourself. So you're taking some of the maybe out of the maybe money, and you're using your time more wisely when you're doing the same thing. You're pressing a button to record. You're just doing it in a smarter way. So when we think about brand deals, because a lot of people in my world are scared of brand deals. No one knows how to go about it. It's like this ancient secret that, getting into working with a brand has to be some really tough, mergers and acquisition style negotiation. And, we've got to maximize profit out of what we do and don't give up your rights. Can you walk me through a generic brand deal for what you do? Random Tuesday, you get an email from a company. What goes on? Because I think
Yeah,
people will be astounded at how straightforward it can really be.
yeah, and once again, we're working low ticket deals.
Right.
I work anywhere between now like a $50 to $250 collaboration, deal, and it just depends on the scope of the work and all that. But it's really not. Most people, especially in this Amazon space, we all want the same thing. We just want to make a video. That's it. The brand wants a video of somebody who's really holding it and talking about it in the market that they're trying to sell to. And I just want to make it to potentially earn that, residual revenue from Amazon, but then also get that payment up front as well. And so, most of my brand deals go like this. Hey, Billy, I have this new remote control. Can you make a video of this? And I go, yep, I can do that. It's $50. And they go, oh, well, how much is it to do that? Amazon and YouTube. Oh, it's $75. And we'll just do the $50 one. Sweet. Here's my address. Send it here. Awesome. I get it. I make the video. I send them the link, and I don't even send an invoice. Like, especially with these overseas companies, it's like the less friction, the better. I just say, hey, here's the amount you owe me. Here's the link, and just send it to my PayPal, and here it is. Now, it's an accounting nightmare, but it's just how it is. And so, I think that's the easy of it. And then but even when I was doing this in podcasting, like, my first sponsorship deal as a podcaster was $10,400. Now, that wasn't all coming in at the same time, but that's what that deal ended up being, because I picked up the phone, called someone in the fishing industry, a boat dealership, and said, hey, look, we started this podcast. We've done 4 episodes. We have 100 people that have listened to the show 4 times. So we had 400 downloads. Do the math. I said, we have 100 people. And what we're doing, here's what we're doing. Here's how, what we want you to be a part of it. We want you to get you in. It's $200 an episode. And we're going to do an episode every week for 52 weeks or whatever. And if you want to be a part of this, we'll grandfather you in long-term for this price. And the pushback of like CPM came up, and I go, well, hold on a second. I started thinking with my brain and not with the industry. And I said, CPM. Okay, well, hold on. I'm going to bake your ad in. So I know it's a little premium of a price now, especially for the size podcast we have, but later it's going to make sense, because I'm going to charge you one time for a lifetime ad spend. Name any other advertising company that does that. Not a billboard, not a Facebook ad, not a newspaper ad. They all have a shelf life. And so I think that's where I succeed the most, is like thinking outside the box, having a different conversation, having a different, offer. And then as a content creator, we have you promoted the show on 4 or 5 different platforms before we went live. That's 4 to 5 different placements. If you ever worked in advertising, placements cost money, but the more placements, the cheaper the price, because the frequency is up. And so I think that's where I've always kind of thought, the frequency model is good, because if I can get you to sign up for 52 weeks and not just 10 or 12 weeks, and I got to chase you down again in 10 or 12 weeks, but I can sign you up for the whole year, then I'm happy to give you a discount rate. I'm happy to spike the punch bowl and get you in for the whole year of advertising. It's like, that's an easy decision for you. That takes all the friction out. Like, try to go and get somebody to buy something over and over and over and over and over every single week. It's annoying. Like, everyone's annoyed. But let's do one deal, one contract, and move on. And so with the Amazon stuff, I don't know, I went around all this craziness, but with the Amazon stuff, I lock people in at a rate, and that's it. I don't negotiate every deal. I lock them in. Most people I work with, they're agencies or they're brand owners, and they have a lot of product. And that's the thing. There's a ton of product. It's not like I'm doing one photo shoot for the Jones family one time a year.
Right.
I'm doing 10 photo shoots a month for the company I'm working for. And so that's the difference.
And that's a huge, the word frictionless is perfect in this sense. And I think a lot of people that are in the same types of businesses that we are, which is essentially retail selling, for lack of better terms, we overcomplicate things, right? We want to make everything so perfect and so meticulous that it just takes the fun, and you're pushing the money away. I know I've done it in some of my negotiations where I've forsaken a longer deal, or what could have been a longer deal, because I was so focused on the money for this one-time shoot, this one-time session, whatever it is, instead of thinking a little bit longer term and saying, hey, maybe we could do this quarterly. Maybe we do this yearly. Even if it's yearly, now you're baking in revenue for the next 3 or 4 years. And it's not something that a lot of people are thinking about, because there is the need for immediate income. And we're so focused on that at the retail level when we're doing commercial work like this, and that's essentially what it is not thinking about how can we make this recurring? And that's the difference between, in my mind, a hobby and a business, right? Now you're starting to turn this
100%.
into a real business. So you negotiate this deal. Do you do anything automatically, or is it all just kind of like you've got your basic templates and you just kind of copy paste? Do you do any sort of automation to get this stuff done? Or is it all pretty manual at this point? It's just kind of like a side question as I think about automating everything.
Yeah, man. So I do have software. So like all my messages come into one place because I
Cool.
have messages coming from like so many different platforms. So they all come into one CRM. I just got an automation. I mean, yeah, I use software to automate some of the connections between like
Yep.
Amazon's Creator Connection, which is additional commission on top of their commission. So I have software that will auto connect my content to those things.
Cool.
I have auto software that will automatically upload my YouTube videos, and then they do the description, disclosure, the affiliate link. I mean, this guy has built a pretty crazy software, and I just push the button and it uploads 30 to 50 videos a day out of my 4,500, all at one time. Now, is it like SEO optimized and all that kind of stuff? Probably to some degree, but not if I went in there individually and did it. However, once again, I'm just repurposing this content, hoping someone will watch the video, click the affiliate link, go to Amazon and buy a sack full of stuff, and I get commission off of it. So it's not my main focus. It's just one of the 5 streams of revenue that I have in my business. And so that's kind of how I've, been able to use technology and recent technology to automate some of those things.
Is this part of that, like the shared usage rights that I've heard you talk about before, like as another revenue layer? You're creating the video for the company, which goes on Amazon or YouTube or wherever they want it to go based on the deal parameters. And then you're also putting that video elsewhere. Are you allowed to put things elsewhere? Is there exclusivity from some of these brands? Or is it basically like, you create the video, they get what they want out of it. Now I'm maintaining the content and I can put it anywhere that I want with affiliate links and whatnot. Do you have that baked in from the beginning to say, hey, I'm still going to use this unless you pay me extra money for exclusivity? Does that ever enter the conversation?
Yeah, 100%. So I would say 95% of my deals are just low ticket, $50. I retain all the rights to the video. Brand doesn't get anything. They're literally just paying me to receive their product and make a video about it and post it to my Amazon storefront. Cool. If I post it to YouTube or whatever, that's on me. That's my, bonus to be had, and bonus to them, as well.
Sure. Publicity,
but
right?
yeah, publicity. But there are deals, once you have the skill set, and this is what I tell people all the time. It's like, especially eCam users. I mean, my goodness, like we have the skill set to be able to switch cameras and make video, quickly. And so it's like when you have the skill set, you can do other stuff. Like somebody paid me several $100s just last week. They sent me their product, which was a $200 product, sent me their script, and I read it for 30 seconds. Now, it did take me a lot more time to do that video than it did me just off the cuff, with my own thoughts. So there was a little bit more work. And then they took that video and turned it into a Facebook ad. Actually got a text message today. Said, hey, man, I just saw your face on an ad. Like, how crazy is that? And so that's more like that traditional UGC, type of content. And that's a premium price. And you could probably go even more premium if you, want to spend all this time. But once again, man, I shot this at my desk. It was crazy. I'm not shooting this all over the world, I'm like shooting it at my desk in a couple of hours. And so, I think there's just so many like layers in the offer that there could be, is this UGC? Is this an ad? But I've kind of figured out the more simplified I make it, the more returning customers I get. And this as well as I do as a business owner. If I can get somebody to pay me one time, I can get somebody to pay me way more times, way easier than going and acquiring a new customer. And so in my business, and it's a frequency business, that I can do that. And the same thing on the resale side. I have people now who shop my Amazon storefront every day, and send me messages. Hey man, I want that portable, generator or whatever. When you're done with it, it's mine. I'm buying it from you. And so I have those five different streams of revenue. I have the brand deal, the small brand deal fee up front.
Mm-hmm.
I have the Amazon, which could be residual. I mean, I've had products that I made money on for 5 years. There's some products that make money on for 5 minutes and then it's over and I never make money again. I don't really keep up with that. That's part of my maybe money thing. Amazon pays me. It's icing on the cake is what I say. So there's the revenue from the brand deal, revenue from Amazon, the revenue from the resale, the revenue from the offsite, and now most recently with Amazon is the additional commission from brands, which has always been an option, but now it's just more automated. So, those are kind of, and I learned this lesson the hard way because when I was in the t-shirt business, I was this product table guy. I was real passionate about helping nonprofits and public speakers build a product table. And that's all I put my energy into. I didn't work with e-commerce sellers. I didn't work with, anyone else. That was it. And then when the pandemic came, all that went away. And so now I was like, oh, well, there's no more audiences. There's no more product tables. There's no, all that stuff is gone. All the live shows are gone. And I don't know for how long. And so when I started this business, I'm like, couple things. I'm not going to rely on the platform to pay me. I'm going to own the relationship. I'm going to get the email from the company. And that way, if Amazon kicks me out of the program, sure, that's a huge chunk of money that I'm going to be missing every year, but I'm not dead in the water. I have over 1,500 contacts where I'll just reach out to them and go, hey, super unfortunate, Amazon kicked me out. However, I still have a skill set of making videos, and now I'm just going to up the price a little bit and give you the content, and not be dead in the water. And I think those are some of the things we have to think about, especially as content creators. It's like, are you relying on the platform? If you're relying on the click, the algorithm, the view, the watch time, if you're relying on those things, like you don't own a business. You own a side hustle. I don't care how big your side hustle is. It can and probably will go away at some point.
And this was, you really just answered the question that I was going to ask you, which is bringing it all back to that risk tolerance at the beginning of the conversation where, getting paid by one platform alone, putting all your eggs in that one basket is too much risk for me to handle. And I know I'm pretty risk tolerant, but I know you've talked about this a lot about diversifying. You don't have to diversify where you're making widgets over here and then there's videos about the widgets and then you've got to, go door to door with the widgets. It's not that. It's just being smart about leveraging. It's kind of like repurposing content, right? We make one long form video, we can cut it up into shorts and then we can put it on different platforms or we can use it for our own ads, right? All we're doing is taking the same thing and spreading out the risks so it's not all dependent on one platform or one view or one click.
100%.
Right? Yeah.
Yep.
So by doing this, by having these 5 revenue streams, by being able to manage the brand relationships, you did pretty good in that first year, right? You jumped up pretty quickly. And I've heard you talk about being able to make 6 figures, which is astronomical, by the way. And I know that there's overhead and stuff, but even just seeing gross 6 figures is pretty rad. Now, what did that, when you first kind of crossed that threshold, right? It seems to be the gate that a lot of people have in their business. I'm making 6 figures, right? When you got past that, I don't care financially what you made. What did it feel like? What did it mean to you to have made that decision to go all in and then finally be at a place where, wow, I'm taking care of my entire family doing this thing? Who knew? What did that feel like?
I mean, you do feel like, it's kind of an interesting question because I think when you haven't done it, it's like this big, this big thing that you want to, it's like the top of the mountain.
Right.
And then when you get there, there's so much work to get there. You're like, oh, that was good. But then it starts all over the next year. So you're like, yay, I did it. Oh wait, it just starts back. It's not a salary, And so, and then there's, when I come from, there wasn't a lot of money. There's not a lot of financial conversation. So, then it's kind of a fight for a new education of like, what do I even do with this now? Everyone says, oh, make money, make money, make money, make more money, pay off debt, do all these things. And my wife and I have thankfully done that. We've paid off all our debt. We've done, we're living the life. And really, I heard this and it kind of really set, because everybody says million and billion, like it's dollar and $2. It's like everybody kind of throws these terms around. I'm like, you don't really know what $1 million is. And you really don't know what $1 billion is. When we say somebody has $1 billion, like that's real. Go look that picture up. That's real crazy. And so, so my young brain was always like millionaire, millionaire, that was my thing.
Right.
And then, I heard somebody say this was like, well, you build a business for one of two reasons. Either one, you build it to scale it and sell it, to exit, or you build it to build your lifestyle that you want. And I think when I heard that, in my particular businesses I was doing, when I heard that, I thought, well, I am the face of the company right now. Like there's no scaling and selling, myself. Now I could build an agency and I could hire talent and I could bring them in the studio. And I've done that to some degree, with a couple other people. But then it comes down to like, do I really enjoy that type of work? Like, do I enjoy managing people and scheduling? And I mean, I've been a manager of companies, and honestly, I'd rather just go play in traffic, like rush hour traffic, actually. And not that I don't want to work with people like that. I'm just not good at it. I'm a good visionary. And maybe if I had a ton of cash and I could go, you know what? I'm going to pay you everything I make per year because I want to hire the best manager to manage me and help me build a team, then maybe.
Right.
But right now, I'm like, I'm debt free. I live on an island in the middle of the ocean, and I'm just enjoying my life. And a lot of people would, and not to be like, oh, look what I did, but man, we sacrificed quite a bit to do what we do. And then, put a lot of time and energy and took the risk. And, my wife was the backbone financially of our family for years while, with her business, while another creative business, graphic designer, freelancer, amazing at her skill. And she was the backbone while I'm over here, flopping around like a dead fish half the time, trying to find myself. And, it's just part of the journey. And so like, yeah, when you make 100,000 or you profit 100,000. So my business making 100,000, my business profiting 100,000, and me making 100,000, it's three way different numbers.
Way different numbers. Yeah.
Way different numbers. But anyway, the money we have made has given us a different type of lifestyle. And I guess you get to that place and then you just go, okay, man, that was fun. I can enjoy the journey. Like there's no destination. That's what I figured out. I always thought there was a destination. I'm like, the destination is debt free. And then you have bigger dreams. Right. And then it's like, okay, well, now what? And then maybe you got a little money in the bank. And entrepreneurs, it's the lifestyle. Sometimes that bank account's fat and sometimes it needs help. It's like, that's just the way it is. And you got to be cool with that. So, I'll talk about in circles all day, man. But, it felt good because for me as a dropout of high school, a dropout of college, for me, I felt like, okay, man, I probably made more money my first year in this, taking this business serious and doing it than all those teachers who said because there's a lot of teachers who said like, you're not going to do much because you're X, Y, and Z. And so I thought I probably made more than all you guys. Now your retirement fund's bigger than mine because you've been in it longer. But,
you got tenure and all that. Yeah. It's funny. I probably think back because I did a lot of years in corporate. And then I switched over to a creative lifestyle, and I've probably made well over $1 million from the time I started working as like a 16-year-old to now a 52-year-old, right? That number is massive. Yeah. What I have is not that number. That doesn't like stick around, right? So, you'd mentioned, oh, I got to do this. I got to do this all over again. Yeah. I had a mentor that told me it's like, you just keep doing circles up and around this mountain. And every time you get to the same like kind of view, you're just at a different altitude, right? So you get the first mile done. You're like, oh, it's a great view. Look what, and then you look up and you got to keep going. But then you get to that next platform. You're like, oh, I'm looking at the same thing, but now I'm higher and I know more. but then there's more people up there. So you're all climbing the same mountain. You just got a different view at different altitudes, right? And you've got all this experience behind you so that, yeah, there might be a bit more of a dopamine hit when you hit that first contract, or you hit that first time where you're filling out your taxes and you're like, wow, there's a lot more zeros in this year. But it doesn't necessarily mean that it's any easier, any harder. It's just you grow with it and you face the same challenges over and over, whether you're just starting or whether you've been in it for 20 years. So a question that I have to you coming out of that is, with all of this and all of your businesses, what's the first thing that breaks for you? And I'm not talking like equipment. What's the first thing that breaks for you that you know that something has to shift? Something has to change in the way that you're doing it?
Probably my enjoyment. I think if my enjoyment breaks, I'm like, why am I? I mean, because dude, we're here. I mean, people can argue whatever we do in the afterlife or whatever, but it's like we're here in this moment one time.
Yeah.
And so I can't really spend that time in regret. I can't really spend that time doing something I hate. I can't spend that time, I just can't spend that time broken over stuff. I can control it. We can control our whole entire lives. Like my wife and I moved to Puerto Rico the first time, and we moved here because a couple of friends of ours moved, and there's a long story to like how I even came to Puerto Rico the first time, and it was awesome, and it's a fun story. But I kind of felt like this place was special to me, even though the first time we moved here, I really didn't enjoy it. And the reason why I didn't enjoy it, one, we lived in a house that didn't have AC in the main room. It was hot as you know what. We were barely making any money. I was just building the podcast at the time. We had a property in North Carolina that we were renting out. And I was like hot. We had a young son. It was 3 years old. So there's all that kind of chaos going on. I was trying to work from home. We bought like a crappy car here on the island and couldn't really, adventure too much. And our resources were limited. And then, something happened like Airbnb. We tried to change our payment method of our, because we were renting an Airbnb. And so they had us on the special like monthly plan for like renting. And so we tried to change the method, like where does that payment come from? Well, they took out the entire payment for the rest of the trip, for the rest of the year, in one thing. And so right before that, we had purchased a car that we really felt strongly that we should give away. And so we gave that car away to somebody in need. And then we had this thousands of dollars come out of our bank account. So we're literally sitting on this island that I now live back on with nothing. Dude, not a dollar in our bank, maxed out credit cards. And I learned one thing, Matt, I didn't die. I was the freest I've ever been in my entire life because I had nothing. I'm like, this is crazy. And we didn't know if we're getting that money back. We didn't know, it was like, there's no refund button at Airbnb. They just don't hit refund. Like they got to go through all this stuff. And yet, man, I didn't die. And I was like, this is not as bad as I thought it was going to be. Yeah. It's going to be okay. And then our community of friends were like, if you need anything, we got you. And I'm like, all right, that's really what life is all about. Like having that community to go, hey, you know what? You just lost everything. Cool. Even if it's temporarily, we got you. What do you need? Send us your Cash App, send us your Venmo. We'll send you our credit card. Like whatever you need, we got you. And so I think there's so much more to life than just like, where's the next dollar coming from and how am I going to get it and who am I going to climb on top of to reach it? It's like, I've been in those situations. I've been in those mindsets. And being, growing up in the States, it's almost like that. I mean, it's like, that is a big thing. It's like, well, what do you make per year? That's your worth. And, I really kind of lean with Gary Vaynerchuk on this. Like, it doesn't matter. Nobody gives a F, dude. Like, do what you enjoy, period. And give other people permission and space to do the same thing. And their failure is not your failure and their success is not your success. So who cares? So anyway, that's kind of I don't even know how we got there. Sorry. Dude.
No, this is the beautiful part of these conversations, right? This is exactly what I want out of this. And it makes me think, all of this work with Amazon and thinking about your history as this serial entrepreneur, contentpreneur, whatever you want to preneur it with. You've always been building towards something. Amazon just happens to be that thing that is really working for you now. What is the thing behind the thing? What are you building towards? What does that beautiful life look like to you?
And this is a great question and one that I have trouble answering. And this is why this is why I have a spouse because I kind of say, honey, because I think a lot of where we come from, it kind of positions us where we are. And so I didn't really come from a lifestyle and a family unit that was big dreamers. We were big survivors. We were
I hear that.
paycheck to paycheck. And so even in my best year, my best moment, my biggest bank account, I still have that mentality that I fight against. My wife didn't come out of that. She had a rock solid. I mean, I'm sure her family had their own struggles and things like that as well, but they probably just didn't televise it in her face as much or whatever. But she has the ability to go, hey, I want a farm. I want a house with 3 to 5 acres of land, a little mini farm. I want a couple horses, want a couple dogs. She has that ability to like dream out that,
Mm.
big thing. And then I have a problem on the other side. It's turning into therapy. I have a problem on the other side where it's like, I need to just be in the moment where I'm like, look where I'm at. Look what I've accomplished. Look from this trailer park kid who couldn't graduate high school and you're good job, dude. Like you did a good job. But for some reason I can't enjoy the moment and I can't dream about the next thing because I'm trying not to lose the thing that I have. And that's my biggest fear is like I don't want to lose where I'm at. I've worked so hard to climb the mountain. I
Mhm.
can't slip. And so it's a weird world. I'm gonna get so many all therapists are watching this right now going, this is a hot lead.
I'm gonna put a new addition on my house. What's his name? Thor. Okay, yeah,
Yeah.
but it's a realistic fear. It's what a lot of us
Yeah.
feel, which is why I sit here and I'm laughing so hard inside because once you've built it and you don't want to let it go and you start to grip onto it tighter and tighter and tighter, I've found that the walls kind of close in and it takes away the love for it. It takes away the passion for it because you're trying so hard to hold on to something because there's fear on the other side of what happens if I don't have this. Then I got to start all over. And I know how hard that is. I know how hard it is on my family. I know how hard it is on my friends. I just don't want to go through that. So I don't want to lose this thing now. But you said 5 minutes ago when you did lose it all, you didn't die, right?
I know.
So why
I
don't
know.
we focus on that? Now, I say this
Yeah.
rhetorically because I think it's ingrained in a lot of us that want to build things. The real people that I've seen become serial entrepreneurs over and over, they have that weird little detachment. Maybe it's some level of sociopathy. I don't know, that they just can't connect. And they're like, no, I built this thing. Now it's on to the next thing. And that's where they get the hit. They just build it up and dump it, build it up and dump it because it's the creation of it. Like we all do our own creative work. It's just at a much larger scale. So
Yeah.
I think, when we don't see those big returns right away, we want so desperately to hold on to the thing that got us there because we're fearful of what might come next. But what I'm hearing from you is that whatever's next is next. And you figured it out before, you're going to figure it out again. So as we start to land this plane, I want to kind of pull on this thread just a little bit more. If the pandemic didn't like crash your sales originally, right? Was it the t-shirt business or something you were doing there? Like
Yeah.
all your
Yeah.
orders get wiped out, right? Would you still be going with that? Or do you feel like you're made up that like every 3 to 5 years, you're like, I got to do something different.
Man,
Is there a time cycle like that for you?
that business was a business I started out of desperation.
Yeah.
I was working a job that I wasn't making a whole lot of money at, that I actually really enjoyed. The job I was working at, and that's how it works. It's like you get a job, it's awesome. You get to kind of get into all your weirdo brain things and get everything. This job had all the tick boxes from travel to creativity. I mean, it had everything. but it just didn't have the money attached to it. And I was getting married. And so the t-shirt business was like this desperate thing to just make more money so I could take, start a family. And then, when it ended, I struggled to like it anyway, because I'm like, I like sales and I like doing front end stuff, but when it came to like design and logos and people send you 5 kilobyte pictures and want you to put it on a t-shirt, you're like, I can't do this. Like, what are we doing? And so there's like all these variables, and I like variables, but I don't like variables out of my control. And so even making a screen, if the humidity changed, the thing would fall apart. I mean, it was just a disaster. Stuff wouldn't go. Right now, if I screw up a video, I just start over.
Right.
But you screw up 500 t-shirts, you're out a ton of cash, and there's not a ton of margin in that industry anyway, especially like how I evolved it. So, man, I'm thankful that something got forced me out of that. I wish it was not the pandemic. I wish it was, like a cotton shortage or something, or, something silly. But it was like, man, that really did kind of move me into what I was wanting to do video again. And that was the thing. That was kind of like, I'd done video for a long time. I wanted to do it again, but I didn't want it to do it in an editing suite, throwing in, multiple, lines of video and chopping it up that way. And then when I found Ecamm, I was like, what? You can push a button and change a camera. This is crazy. Like this is a full live TV production suite. Like this is crazy. And that's kind of, how I got back into it. But once again, man, it was just, what do you want to do? And, I think entrepreneurship is the first thing on my list. Like, I joke around all the time, but if somebody's like, oh, what happens if AI takes your job? I'm like, well, my neighbors have dogs and dogs have poop, and I got a bag and a shovel. So I'll start a dog poop cleanup business. Like, I just got to work for myself. I don't care what it is. I'll do anything. So yeah, man, it's a weird world, dude. I think us entrepreneurs, and especially when you do entrepreneur and creative stuff, it's like we have some loose marbles up top.
But it's without a doubt, there's definitely a mental hospital just waiting for all of us to come in, and they're just going to make millions. I think, everything that you've said resonates so much with me. And so therefore I know it does with a lot of people listening, because regardless of the industry that we're in, whether it's photography or videography or dog poop or t-shirts or whatever it is, there's the same set of challenges of finding the thing, building a business around it, solving problems, which you've been doing since you were a kid, and then figuring out what works and what doesn't. And then how do you optimize it? How do you get better at it? And then once you do that, what's next? How do you scale? How do you build? How do you grow? Do I even want to do this anymore? Am I so sick to death of it that it's taken all the joy out of it, which is the problem between making a hobby a job, right? Which is how I landed where I was, but I just had to shift things to make it work for me so that it didn't feel like a hobby and it didn't feel like work, but it provided a roof over my head. And that's kind of where I'm at now. And it's been, over a decade now, and I feel pretty good about it. Where I wanted to kind of bring this all to is people have been listening and they clearly understand that you know what you're talking about. Your community that you've built, and you're at this point where a lot of people now are so inundated with AI, they're searching for something authentic. They're searching for real human connection again. And it doesn't live in some guru somewhere that is just saying, buy my course and buy my book and do this and do that, and you're going to have the same success that I am. You've built this community of, like I said earlier, this radical honesty, this openness, and having been in those groups with you, it has a different feel to it. It feels more like a family than it does a mastermind group. It feels more like a supportive community, kind of the same thing that we find in the Ecamm community, is that it's all extraordinarily supportive. How are you doing things? Hey, did you think about doing it this? Because I've seen success with this, right? And that's how I feel in your meetings when we're talking about live selling or live shopping or whatever Amazon had updated in the last 12 minutes. And I see people coming back because they love the community. What do you see? And I know there's probably no secret sauce, but what do you see as the success metric for a community like what you've built?
I mean, it's probably the newest thing that I've tried to kind of throw mud on the wall and just kind of see what is this? Because I've always been attracted, like Ecamm. I mean, you said it. Like I've been a part of Ecamm for 6 years. I've always loved the community over there. They've always been so supportive and helpful. And I'm just like, how do I replicate that in my own? Of course, I know I have software, and my software is not ever changed. I just have like a system that I try to, answer questions best I can. And I'm in the business, so I'm like, I'm kind of in the mud, just like the Ecamm crew. They're all doing shows, and they're in the mud. They're using the software. They're just not hawking, software. And so, I don't know that I'm the best community builder because I'm kind of a loner in the sense of like, I'll come in, I'll put my head down. I'm just trying. I'm not getting. This is like my laboratory. It's like I'm in here just cooking and seeing what stuff does, and oftentimes I kind of forget. I'm like, oh, I should be making content for this community, or I should be, doing something. And so it's one of the newer things that I'm trying because I do want people. I want the light bulbs to come on. And I've seen the light bulbs come on in several people's lives where they go, it's real money. It's like, and I kind of focus on brand deals and monetization more than anything else. But, and maybe that's wrong to think that's the most valuable thing or whatever, but, in workflow and doing that stuff. So I don't know, man. I mean, when you ask me that question about community, I feel like I'm the worst community builder ever. I feel like there's some people like Katie and Doc. I mean, those guys and Jill, they're just like natural, like, hey, what's up? How's it going? I'm kind of like, hey, leave me alone. I'll be over here for 30 days. I'll come back when I got something magical to show you.
But that's like a lot of us, right? And so I guess my question is less about your community, but when you're looking at a community, do you look for those outroverts, or do you look for a community of other kind of like little cave trolls like you and me that's just kind of like, I just want to be over here and build something, and then we'll come back on the first of every month and have show and tell and then go back and do our own thing? Or do you like to be in the mix and hearing all of what is it that attracts you to a community that you feel like you'd like to replicate?
Well, I do think that's the Ecamm thing. I love how there's so many different people in that community doing so many different things with Ecamm. I mean, and some of it just blows my mind. Like, when I saw you build your show, I kind of watched you, and you did a really cool thing, by the way. You kind of built it live. I mean, honestly, you kind of went through the steps, and, I'm just watching wherever you're documenting at. I'm going, huh, that was cool, man. Like, look at his show. It started from this idea, and I'm sitting in my chair and I'm tweaking my lights to now I'm got guests on and all this stuff. And so I think it's that, and then you see other people who are like in the crafting industry, and they're like overhead shot, and here's how you build this box, and they got 500 people watching their YouTube show, and I'm like, what is happening right now? It's so crazy. And that's kind of what I love about the software, about the live streaming industry, the video industry, is like you can do so much stuff with it. And that's what I love being inspired by, because I think there's so much power, Matt, in cross-referencing industries. Like if I'm a videographer and I can look at a car dealership for a day, there's something in that they do in their processes that I can adopt and put into my process.
100%.
And I love that's what I love about community. What I don't like about my community is I really feel like when you're the quote unquote leader of the community, there's like maybe not for everyone else in the group, but for me, there's like this pressure to be on the edge, to be the know-it-all, to be and a lot of times I'm going, I don't know anything. I'm just testing stuff out and showing it to you.
Well, I think, I think very similarly to you, and I watch community very carefully. And I came out of a community with a group called the Portrait Masters, which was very high-end portraiture, It was a very tight-knit small community of several thousand people, but it was very, very tight-knit. There was a core group of, let's say, 500 to 1,000 people. We all knew each other, and it was really cool to get together once a year and do stuff in person. But every day we were in a Facebook group or we were in a Zoom or something. We were all supporting each other. And it was all led by a wonderful woman named Sue Bryce. But she didn't participate in the stuff day over day over day as it grew and grew and grew. And the community didn't necessarily miss her for that because we had become self-sufficient. And when I look at your group and the things that I'd love to build, I think of myself more like a King Arthur at a round table, right? I don't want to be the head of anything. I want us to all be on equal footing, learning from each other. And it sounds like that's a similar environment that you like to be in. I certainly don't like everybody looking at me going, all right, what's next? And I'm like, I don't know, let's try this, right? And if it fails, then I'm the one at fault. But if it succeeds, then they're going to be like, oh, come up with another great idea. And I'm like, I just spent my one good one right there. That's all I had.
Dude,
you're going to have to come up with
that's how I
next
feel.
month.
Every time somebody joins the group, it's like, what can I expect from this group? I'm like, I pretty much have like 40 YouTube videos. If you watch those, that's a pretty solid plan.
Well, let's grow the community. So let's talk a little bit about what you got going on. So you've got the YouTube channel, and you've got your deal makers community, and you've got Instagram pages, and everything is kind of under Billy Thorpe Live, the deal makers community. Talk a little bit about where you see most people gravitating, and then also where can they go to get some more information about what it is that you do, which is kind of how I started with you. What do you do? How do you do this?
Yeah. So, once again, I think the community thing is, it's changed a little bit. So I did use, as far as the platform, I used to go high level and built a community, but it's kind of off the beaten path. It was kind of my own secluded area of the internet. And so we most recently just switched back over to a Facebook group because a lot of these Amazon influencers are on Facebook, and they're already in other Facebook groups and software groups. And so it's kind of changed a little bit since I started, because we were like doing weekly calls, and it used to be paid for any just to get in the group was paid. And then I made it free. I listened to all the gurus that were like, you got to make everything paid. And then I was like, I don't want to do that. I don't want to be responsible for, because I'm in the business. I'm working in the business. I don't have time to be customer service for all the little questions. So I'm still in the phase of like kind of figuring out where the direction of that community goes. Now, I do have a small coaching group that is a paid opportunity that no one ever really knows about unless I post about it. And that's when I get in the nitty gritty with people. That's when I get, let's look at your business. What are you doing? What is your workflow? How can we get you more deals and, leverage the Amazon stuff? And I've worked with, several people in that group, and they've all had, great success doing that. But that's kind of one of those, I'm very particular about who I bring in. It's kind of invite only. I encourage people only to stay 1 to 3 months. I'm not trying to retire off of that group. And once again, Matt, anything that's community wise, I just do it all wrong because I don't care. I'm like, it's not my main thing, but I do want to help people. And honestly, man, this business is kind of lonely. Like, as a content creator, it's like, sure, I sit and stare at myself all day in a teleprompter. When I get to see someone like you, I mean, I'm chatty Cathy right now because I'm like so excited to talk to somebody else that gives 1% about what I do. So, but yeah, man, I mean, that's it. And my YouTube channel is pretty new. Like, that one is pretty new. And I'm experimenting with it as well. I'm doing some content over there about the Amazon stuff, and maybe going to launch a little live show series with a panel discussion as we kind of talk pre-show a little bit about that. Just to have some fun, man. I think I keep my nose to the grind all the time with these videos, and I'm ready to break loose a little bit, be silly, show a little bit more personality than just, hey guys, today we're going to talk about this PS5 remote,
right. Which I'm looking at, by the way. So next time you're on Whatnot and you're selling something, because I've got monitors and microphones and all sorts of stuff that you've resold. And I'm like, yes, buy. buy. I'm on it. So like, just you keep doing those. I'll keep showing up and spending money that I don't have. It's perfect.
Oh man,
Billy,
Puerto Rico's made it tough. Puerto Rico's made shipping tough. So Puerto Rico and whatnot and USPS do not have a contract. So shipping is about 3x from here. So
that's crazy.
I have brought everything back close to home and building a local network of resellers that are in the area, and they're buying a bunch of this stuff. So,
well, I mean, it's another service that you're providing, right? It's another side thing.
Yeah.
Help the community around you, not necessarily the weirdos like me that are on the internet somewhere. Like you've got you can hop in your golf cart and just drive around the island and just be like Billy Santa Claus and just giving out all this sort of stuff. I think there's something to be said there for how you're always looking to solve that problem. What can I do in the community here if shipping's not great? How do I, help other people? If I don't have all the answers, how can I help them help themselves? This string of you solving problems is just so core to who you are, but you're doing it in a way that is benefiting people, not just how do I get some for me? It seems to be you're always looking to solve problems to truly help other people. And that's a huge part of the character that I don't see in a lot of other folks. So just it's come across very clear tonight as you've talked about all this stuff that's really core to who you are. So I
appreciate that. Thank you.
Yeah, of course, man. I think, it's really important as we grow these channels, as we get on these platforms and we're pontificating like we have all the answers. The big truth of it all is that we don't. And you'll probably find the same story amidst most of the folks that you see is we're just trying it. And for some reason it's working, and don't overthink it. Just do what you love and something good will come of it. Even if it's not the thing you're doing now, something good will show itself, right? If you just kind of keep your eyes open to that opportunity. So
100%, man. 100%.
Where can people find everything? What's the best place for folks to go to start? You're like, let's start with the YouTube channel. Let's get you some subs there, right?
Yeah, let's go to the YouTube channel. So
I
think it's at Billy Thorpe Live. I can't remember. I need to get better promoting myself.
Put it up. Yeah, there's Thorpe Creative. There's Billy Thorpe Live. The best thing to do, which is kind of what I started doing today, look up Billy Thorpe Influencer. And it's the worst term to use, but then suddenly your face is everywhere, because of what you've been able to build. And that term makes me cringe, but I get it. I get it for what it is.
Dude, if Amazon wouldn't label it that, I would never, ever say that word.
Right.
I don't like it. But yeah, don't look up Billy Thorpe just general. You'll come up with the guy who died in 2007.
Is he a musician? Was that what it was? Is he a musician?
Yeah. He had a one-hit wonder called like Children of the Sun or something like that. And I get invited to Australian because he was like a British guy, I think, that lived in Australia. I get invited to Australian podcasts all the time.
Oh my God. You need to start showing up.
Somebody sent me an email the other day and was like, "Hey, can you can we license your music for something?" I'm like,
"Yep, 10 grand, 10
sure.
grand.
Here's my PayPal."
You need me to make a video? $50. $50. Just go ahead and use it. Just go ahead and use it.
Yeah. Who cares?
I love this stealing identities. That's not what we're going into. That's the next podcast when I bring you back. All right, Billy, thank you so much, man. Hang out here for another minute while I shut things down. But it's been so much fun having you here tonight. And I could, like you, stay on here for another couple hours because I haven't left the house in 3 days and I just need to see people. So having you on tonight was a breath of fresh air. I appreciate you, man. Am I going to see you at Creator Camp in October of this year? Are you coming back?
Yeah, I haven't. I don't even know if this is public information or not. I'll break it right here, though. Katie might kill me. Maybe she doesn't care, but I've been invited to speak. So I've been invited to be a presenter.
I cannot wait for that.
I'm excited. I'm a little nervous, but I'm excited.
I don't think you have anything to be nervous about. Nothing to be nervous about. I saw you last year and people flock to you, like I said, because of the energy, and it's great. I'd love to take some portraits of you too when we're there. So I've already got my tickets. Cool. I'll be there, and we're going to have a great time. It'll be great to see you in person again. Until
Yeah, man,
then,
can't wait.
good luck in Puerto Rico. Get that golf cart charged up, and I'll see you in October.
It's gas, baby. It's
Oh,
gas.
it's gas. Oh, you get a big 450, big block
I
in
think
that, just ripping
It
around.
does 38 to 40 miles an hour. It moves.
And every car guy that was listening to this just heard me say 450 big block and realized how little I know about cars. Like, I don't know. That sounded like something I heard some guy say one time. All right, man. Thank you so much. Hang out here for just a second. And for everybody else watching, this will be out soon. If you have any questions, I'll have everything in the show notes down below. You can find out and get in touch with Billy whenever you want. But thanks again. I'll see you next time.